Hey, I'm Roman Kosovichev. Last few years, I was working in Untitled Studio as designer and developer. I'm really passionate about design automatization. I believe it has a bright future. A popular topic today is, would machine replace human in creative fields? Is it possible to automate abstract thinking? Actually, I have a real story about a non-existent designer with real customers. The story began with one hypothesis in Art Lebedev Studio Design Agency. The studio was pumped up on designing identities. It had the hugest storage with around 1,000 logotypes, typography libraries, designers with hands. A really good place to pick up a consistent and valuable dataset for any neural networks. Algorithms don't understand what the conception, the design feelings are, how to code design processes, actually what these processes are. I'm just a developer who hasn't really figured out how to create a logo from the scratch. So I started to investigate things. I've talked with designers about a client brief, color theory, composition rules, designer routines, and it helped me to structure all the common steps for creating a new logo. Structuring input information, understanding a context, generating images, adding styles and using unique color palettes, setting up a composition, representing endless conceptions. At first blush, it's impossible to automate, right? I understood it cost a pretty penny to use only one neural network. I decided to go step by step. The first step is creating a new conception to understand and analyze a client brief and turn that into an idea. Nowadays, we can automatically classify text into predefined categories sorted by value and use those categories as links to understanding a context. This is one of its advantages, because sometimes even a human can extract relevant associations immediately from the text. That's a trick. I'm going to connect these associations to the generated images. But how to generate images? It was 2 years ago. At that moment, most hyped neural graphic libraries use generative adversarial networks. I made a small dataset with simple geometrics like circles, triangles, squares, and passed these to the GAN input. I had an idea to generate pixel forms and trace to vector graphics. Actually, I got really interesting results of such transformations, but it was too far away from the real logo. Cut to the chase. I decided to change my approach and generate vectors. I asked few designers to create a few simple vector icons. Most of them consist of tricky curves and massive list of points, so I had to simplify them for future trainings. I used GIMP with automation functions. Also, I applied an augmentation and skewed and rotate each image. After that, I randomized SVG path using an algorithm which takes SVG points and randomly moves coordinates with specified deltas. In the end, I made a varied image set. Next, I packed all SVG coordinate offsets into array and sent these to pre-made recurrent neural network. I got an amazing and unexpected result. The neural networks generate absolutely new and crazy vector images. I used my design process knowledge to automate image transformations, add design styles like smoothing, simplifying, thousands of different filters and masks. I learned logo compositional rules and coded those. We put 1,000,000 unique color palettes into our programmed system. As you can see, it's a snap to plan the work when you divide creative processes into clear and simple steps. I believe it can be scaled up for any creative processes. You haven't to use or develop the tricky and only the one neural network for your purposes. Think structurally. Finally, we made a whole system to simulate all creative logo steps, and we call it Nikolai Ironov. It was a mind-blowing moment when we decided to use him to generate a logo for a real client. And it worked like a charm. Clients were really happy, and no one knows who Nikolai really is. Sometimes he generates completely unexpected things that a human can come up with. Despite being an algorithm, it produces different results every time. People have a lot of boundaries and barriers. Every one of us has personal taste and vision. Humans are humans. We always have limits. But Nikolai doesn't have any limits. He can easily generate something completely offbeat with no hassle. And the coolest thing is that Nikolai competed with real people. He was judged along with other designers, and he won when he was offering very original, interesting decisions which were very difficult to come up with without some efforts. The fact that this design is working is actually a really huge win. It shows us that it's already in real world, on signs, on packaging, on bottles. This is it. Nikolai is taking all of the real world. A non-existent person is taking all of the real world.